Superintendent Andrew E. Perpener Jr. of Memphis, Tennessee, is one who has experience and has been forged in the boardrooms of the Church of God in Christ for such a time as this. People who work with him have several words that resonate to describe him: professional, creative, innovative, and integrous. He is a prepared, proven professional with a vast array of business knowledge. The spiritual fathers of our church have anointed and entrusted him as a lightning rod of change and innovation on behalf of the members
And
of
I'm
the
here
Church of God in
in
Christ.
behalf of my good friend and cohort in the ministry and in service to the Church of God in Christ, the elder Andrew Perpener. I think that his candidacy is one that the church needs to recognize and the saints need to support. When the Church of God in Christ began its bookkeeping and accounting office, Andrew Perpener was there. So was my late wife, Gloria. She was there with him as a part of that initiating team. And they took a $500,000 Eli Lilly endowment grant and fashioned out what became the accounting office for the entire Church of God in Christ, putting together the bits and pieces of and quite fragmented structure and making sense out of it in terms of office, in terms of calling, in terms of budgetary aspects, and creating the other parts that made a working unit out of our Church of God in Christ national headquarters. Financially speaking, say that I'm in full support of him, and I just know that Andrew Perpener is a fine man, a gentleman, a great pastor, an astute person, and his credentials, they stand with anyone's.
It is wonderful to be here with you today. This is Attorney John Daniels, and I'm here to support Superintendent Andrew Perpener. You know, one of the things about the Church of God in Christ is we have a lot of remarkable people, and we get a chance to meet and visit them and work with them. Probably one of the most important things that we know is to have people in leadership who are wise, who are disciplined, and who have a long legacy with this church. Well, one of the reasons I'm here to support the superintendent is because he has all of those virtues and many, many more. Some of you know that years ago I served as chairman of the publishing board of the Church of God in Christ. That was a wonderful honor. I had the opportunity to work with General Board Bishop David Hall, and in that time period, we were able to turn around the publishing board to send hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to the national church because of teamwork, collaboration, and good financial guidance. That's why I'm so pleased that the superintendent has agreed to step up and take on that role with the church. Well, let me tell you some of the things that you probably already know about him. He's a remarkable individual. He has a long and deep legacy in the Church of God in Christ. He also is disciplined and well-trained in finances. He brings all of the attributes that you would want for someone who's going to handle your money. And we know that that starts with the ability to understand all of the detailed finances associated with a complicated organization like the church, but also to understand its mission. He does both. You know, I've watched him in some complicated meetings where he has been able to talk with people who have the highest stature in the country and to talk with people who are just regular people like all of us. That's the kind of person we need. But in every one of those meetings, I thought he was thoroughly prepared. He did a remarkable job, and he was always interested in the church. You know, one of the key things about leadership is that it's not about you. It's about the other people that you can help and you can grow. And when you have a person who's had a history of doing that, you really, really, really ought to be thankful that they're willing to take this role on as the superintendent is. One of the things that I've learned, at least in my life, and being involved in the Church of God in Christ for so many decades, it's not about what you do. It's about what you do for the future. So it is my wonderful honor to endorse the Superintendent Andrew because I know he will do a marvelous job for all of us. And thank you very much. for taking just a few moments to listen to me.
God bless all of you, and God bless the Superintendent Administrative Assistant, Andrew Perpener, who has been for a long time a spiritual son of mine, going way back when we first met under the leadership of Bishop Chandler Owens, and subsequently under the leadership of Bishop G.E. Patterson. I was the chief of staff and the COO during that period of time, and he was over our finance in the office of the controller, in the office of the director of our finances, and then he worked with me in Tennessee Fourth as the COO, and other kinds of positions that he occupied, and the work that he did for the national church under my leadership, and also for Tennessee Fourth under my leadership. The question that comes to mind for everyone is whether or not he is qualified to do what he does. And we all know that he is qualified to do what he does, because most of the things that we're working with in our financial, in our finance rather department, and with regard to our national church, he was responsible for setting those things up. For that reason, we certainly appreciate his work effort and his work ethic, and he is running. The members of the general board have come to a point of understanding that we're not supposed to support or really take a side with anyone relative to who should be the position of our church, and saying that we choose one over the other. My point is a simple point, and the point that I make is this: that when you come to Andrew Perpener, when you come to Superintendent Andrew Perpener, when you come to Administrative Assistant Andrew Perpener, and when you come to a brother in the church, Andrew Perpener, when you come to a person who understands finance and finances, Andrew Perpener, when you come to a person who can set up an organization and an office to run the financial affairs of the church, Andrew Perpener. And so you cannot ignore the fact that he is qualified. He can do the work. And given the opportunity, he's going to show everybody how much he can do and will do for the church. He worked with me. A lot of things that I would have had done, he did. And all I had to do is just speak to him concerning the areas of responsibility, and he carried them out in the manner in which they should have been carried out. So I'm appreciative of the fact that we have such a candidate as Superintendent Administrative Andrew Perpener, and all persons who are supporting him. I want you to know your support is not in vain. I thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak with you all and for him, because I believe that we have to be cognizant of the fact that God has given to us persons with unique abilities. God bless you, and thank you for giving me this space.
Thank you for joining with us as we recognize the strengths of Superintendent Andrew Perpener. I've been an elected official in the Church of God in Christ now for elected official, not just working as an appointed position, the places I have like youth and public relation and director of this, that, and the other, but an elected official for 24 years, 12 years with trustee board, and now with the general board. So I've seen a lot, and especially in those two particular places, of ministry where an understanding of the church is dire, and that is to know what is the functionality of the church. And trustee board, of course, was one of those that for sure that we had great need of understanding the purpose behind the Church of God in Christ and its function and how it operates. I will say that there are many people that don't really understand how the church works and how it flows. But in my tenure of serving as, at one point, vice chairman of trustee board and then just a member of the trustee board, we had to engage in business conversations and deliberations with then Elder Andrew Perpener, who worked in the area of accounting and as the CFO of the Church of God in Christ. When I was charged by my father to move from Jackson, Tennessee to Memphis after pastoring there in Jackson, some maybe 10 years or so, or better, about 12 years being there, but 10 years actually pastoring. I was challenged to come to Memphis and further the ministry that I'm currently serving. And Pastor Andrew Perpener and his beautiful wife, Lady Shirley, elected to move to Memphis along with Melody and I, and of course, rechart their lives and their purposes as well. My father was very endeared to Pastor Andrew Perpener in that when he came to Memphis, knowing of his talents and his skills in the area of finance, and had served at Lane College for so many years, and knew that he understood numbers and accounting, he hired him at Mason Temple, working in the accounting office, which is one of the areas or functions of the church that my father prides himself on in being instrumental in putting in place as well. And so I'm seeing Pastor Andrew Perpener and his beautiful wife, who is also super talented alike, work in these kinds of areas that are essential for the growth and well-being because of it involves organization and it involves integrity. You know, everybody can't handle money and everybody can't count money. And not only that, but everyone can't cast visions around money, because this is not just someone, a bean counter, but this is someone who has to help us chart the course of what we propose to do with budgeting for the Church of God in Christ. The financial secretary has no work to do until the general board and presiding bishop gives him or her the scope of where we plan to go. And once they have that, then they can work in unity with the general board and presiding bishop to make sure that the goals and objectives are met. So whoever is chosen as the financial secretary of the church, and I speak not against anyone, but I am speaking for someone. And the for someone that I'm speaking of is Superintendent Andrew Perpener, because he knows what he's doing and he's done a lot of the work already. And then he had to uniquely work in partnership with the persons who have already served in this category. That is, he was very close to the late Bishop Frank White. I mean, they were peas in a pod. You know, they were very, very close, and a unique closeness as well. But Bishop Daddy Father White was a great individual at large. And so Superintendent Perpener is no novice. That's one of my dad's favorite words. He is no novice at this. He understands what this is. And whenever you, it's unfortunate in the Church of God in Christ that many of our elections and our voting is based upon popularity. And I know that's true. That's just the reality and the way it is, because many times, many of us don't really understand the operations or the functions of the positions that we're voting to fill. And this area of finance is strategic, and it involves having someone in place that not only has an understanding of the church, but relationship with the people who are the managers of the church and ministry. And I want to encourage you to vote for Pastor Superintendent Andrew Perpener, because he knows this job. And I don't know how he's going to communicate that to the masses, because people have a tendency to forget. I know you know that. But he's already worked for the Church of God in Christ in a very meaningful capacity in accounting. He ran the accounting department, and then he was the CFO of the Church of God in Christ. Many of the areas that we're using now in our financial business structure, he put in pencil many of those things in place. He had much to do with the development of the F1 and all of that form and all of that. Because he has a great mind. He's a great team player too, and that is important for a person's not to be alone, but also able to cull and pull in strength from others. I encourage you to prayerfully consider Pastor Andrew Perpener for the office of Financial Secretary. I know there's others running, and I'm sure they're fine individuals, and some of which I've told and talked to and said, you know where I am with this, because you know my relationship with Andrew Perpener. And they already knew, and they were just kind of making fun with me about saying, well, I sure hate that he's going to have to see you change your vote. And I said, no, I'm not doing that, because I know this person. And I know him in this area. So, I know some of these other persons in other areas, but I know him in this area. And I know that without any equivocation, and I think my time is up, without any equivocation, he will be an excellent choice. And I say that as a secretary of the general board for the service that I have and the duties that I have. I depend strongly on the financial secretary to give us meaningful, timely reports that will reveal to us how strong or not certain of our plans and projectives have gone. And I know that Pastor Perpener knows exactly what that means, and he can fit right in. And watch this, we won't lose a beat.
And Andrew Perpener, he is qualified. He's running for the financial secretary's position. And when you think about all the work we got to do, I know this is not a campaign speech, but all the work we got to do in the accounting office so that we don't go backwards, but we continue to go forward in this church. When you think about it and what he has done and where he was trained,
That's true.
who is more qualified
That's true.
than the dude that lives in Memphis, Tennessee?
Superintendent Andrew E. Perpener Jr., not only is he a prepared, proven professional, he is also a man of integrity. God has entrusted him with a vision for the Church of God in Christ in finance. It is a vision that will make a positive impact on what he calls his 3 L's: legacy, literacy, and legislation. He loves the Church of God in Christ. If you are a delegate, we encourage you to vote Superintendent Andrew E. Perpener Jr. for Financial Secretary. If you are not a delegate, we encourage you to use your influence. This is the time for us to move our church forward together.